The wind swept through the pine trees like a restless spirit. Evening had fallen over Clearwater Ridge, a small Montana town where everyone knew each other, or thought they did. Logan Pierce stood at the edge of the forest trail, his weathered, hand resting on the thick fur of Shadow, his loyal German shepherd. "Smells like rain, old boy," Logan muttered, his voice low and steady. Shadow's ears twitched, nose lifted. Even at 10 years old, the dog's instincts were razor sharp. Once they had patrolled dangerous streets together, diffusing threats in the war-torn cities overseas. Now, their missions were quieter, or so Logan had hoped. The forest around them was dense, the scent of damp earth rising with the evening mist. Behind them, the search party's flashlights bobbed like fireflies, volunteers from the town, faces drawn tight with worry. A young girl, Emily Carter, age 7, had vanished hours ago during a family picnic. No signs, no witnesses. Only a small red sneaker found near the forest's edge. Sheriff Cole Ramirez approached, his boots crunching over fallen twigs, worry etched deep into his face. "Logan," he said quietly, glancing at the darkening treetops. "It's almost nightfall. If we don't find her soon..." Logan nodded, his jaw tight. "We'll find her. Shadow's already picked up her scent." Cole hesitated. "There's something else. Her grandfather, old Frank Carter, swears he saw someone near the tree line before Emily disappeared. A man in dark clothing." Logan's eyes narrowed. "Let's not jump to conclusions, but we'll keep our eyes open." The forest seemed to breathe around them, shadows pooling between the trees as the last light faded. Logan crouched beside Shadow, whispering the familiar command. "Track!" The German shepherd lowered his nose and moved forward, weaving between underbrush and towering pines. The searchers followed at a respectful distance, speaking in hushed tones. As they advanced deeper into the woods, Logan's thoughts drifted. He remembered another mission years ago. The heat of a distant desert city. Buildings reduced to rubble. The cries of trapped civilians. Shadow, then just a 3-year-old. K9 had led Logan through collapsed hallways, ignoring falling debris and the thunder of distant gunfire. Together they had found 3 children huddled beneath a broken stairwell. Shadow had barked once, sharp and confident. That bark had saved lives. Now, Logan felt the same tension settle into his bones. Minutes turned to an hour. The trail led them to an old logging road, unused for decades. Trees loomed like silent sentinels on either side. Shadow stopped suddenly, growling low in his throat. "What is it, boy?" Logan asked, instincts sharpening. Shadow's gaze was fixed ahead, muscles tense. Then, from the darkness, a faint sound, a child's whimper. Logan's heart leapt. "Emily!" Shadow bolted toward the sound, Logan close behind, his breath quickening. The searchers called out, spreading in a wide arc, their voices trembling with urgency. The forest floor became uneven, roots snaking across their path. Branches clawed at Logan's jacket as he pushed through a thicket and entered a small clearing. Moonlight filtered through the branches, casting silver patterns across the forest floor. Shadow stood beside a large, moss-covered boulder, nose pressed against a narrow crevice at its base. From within came another whimper. "Emily!" Logan dropped to his knees, peering into the gap. 2 wide, tear-streaked eyes met his. "We've got her!" Logan shouted, relief flooding his chest. As Cole and the others converged, Logan carefully coaxed the frightened girl out. She clung to Shadow, sobbing into his fur. Her small hands gripped the dog's collar tightly, refusing to let go. "It's okay, Emily," Logan whispered. "You're safe now." But as Logan lifted her into his arms, he noticed something that made his blood run cold. The boulder wasn't just any rock. It was the corner of an old concrete structure, part of the abandoned military facility rumored to be hidden beneath Clearwater Ridge. And the padlock on the concealed door had been recently broken. Logan's eyes scanned the area, muscles coiled with tension. "This wasn't an accident," he whispered. Above them, thunder rumbled in the distance. The first drops of rain began to fall, pattering softly against leaves and skin. Shadow stood alert, ears pricked toward the darkened tree line. Someone had been here, and they might still be watching. The rain intensified as Logan carried Emily out of the clearing, her small arm still wrapped tightly around Shadow's neck. Sheriff Cole Ramirez walked beside them, his flashlight sweeping nervously across the trees. Volunteers formed a protective circle as they headed back toward the trailhead. "I'll call for the paramedics," Cole said. "She needs to be checked out." Emily clung to Logan, her breath hitching. "Don't let him take me." Logan froze. "Who, Emily?" She buried her face against his shoulder. "The man in the woods." Cole and Logan exchanged a tense glance. The pieces were falling into place, and they didn't like the picture they were forming. By the time they reached the staging area, a small crowd had gathered. Emily's parents rushed forward, tears streaming down their faces. Logan gently transferred the child into her mother's arms. Shadow stayed close, ever watchful. As paramedics examined Emily, Logan knelt beside Shadow, stroking the dog's damp fur. The shepherd's gaze remained locked on the dark forest beyond. "She said someone tried to take her," Cole murmured. "This wasn't just a case of a child wandering off," Logan nodded grimly. "That concrete structure, we need to check it out." But by the time they returned to the clearing, the rain had washed away any fresh tracks. The broken padlock lay discarded on the ground, cold and slick. Logan examined the door. Beyond it, a narrow tunnel led into darkness. "We should wait for backup," Cole advised. "No time," Logan replied. "If someone's using these tunnels, we can't let them slip away." He turned to Shadow. "Track." The dog lowered his nose, sniffed the air, and moved cautiously into the tunnel. Logan followed, flashlight cutting a pale beam through the gloom. The walls were damp, lined with old electrical conduits and rusted hooks. The floor sloped downward. Shadow paused occasionally, testing the scent trail. After several minutes, the tunnel branched. To the left, a sealed metal door. To the right, more darkness. Shadow chose the right. They emerged into a larger chamber, a long-forgotten storage room filled with decaying crates and broken equipment. A faint odor lingered in the air. Not just mildew, something else. Chemicals. Logan's flashlight swept across the room. In one corner, a tattered sleeping bag. Empty. Food wrappers. Someone had been living down here. Shadow growled softly, ears pinned forward. Cole crouched beside a crate. "We've got company." On the concrete wall behind the sleeping bag, someone had scrawled symbols and words in charcoal. Some were military codes, designations Logan recognized from his time in service. Others were more cryptic. "Operation Echo Rise." Cole read the words aloud. "What the hell does that mean?" Logan's pulse quickened. "I've heard that name before. Classified operations from years ago. Nothing ever confirmed, but rumors about unauthorized experiments." Cole's expression darkened. "And now someone's reviving it?" Before Logan could respond, Shadow barked sharply and bolted toward a side passage. Logan and Cole chased after him, boots echoing on the concrete. The passage ended at a ladder leading upward. Shadow stood at its base, looking up expectantly. Logan climbed first, pushing open a rusted hatch. They emerged behind an abandoned warehouse near the outskirts of Clearwater Ridge. Moonlight revealed recent tire tracks in the muddy ground, a black SUV. Its engine roared to life at the far end of the lot. Logan grabbed his radio. "Cole, he's here!" Cole sprinted forward, but the SUV sped away, taillights vanishing into the night. Logan clenched his fists. Whoever this was, they were prepared, organized. Shadow stood beside him, chest heaving, eyes fixed on the retreating vehicle. "This isn't over," Logan said quietly. The storm raged above, but beneath the fury of the elements, a darker threat had begun to surface in Clearwater Ridge. The following morning broke gray and heavy with mist. Logan stood at the edge of the old warehouse lot, staring at the deep tire ruts left by the fleeing SUV. Sheriff Cole had cordoned off the area, but the rain had obscured any other traces. Shadow sat patiently at Logan's side, his breath forming, small clouds in the chilly air. "We've got nothing solid," Cole said, approaching. "No surveillance, no eyewitnesses. Whoever he is, he knows how to stay invisible." Logan nodded. But he left something behind. From his pocket, he withdrew a piece of fabric Shadow had found near the tunnel exit, a torn scrap from a black tactical jacket. Sewn into the edge was a number, faded but readable. 2214, Logan read aloud. Cole frowned. Could be military. Issue. Logan's thoughts churned. That number stirred a memory from years ago, from files he'd only glimpsed during his last deployment. He tapped his phone, dialing an old contact. "Pierce," answered a gruff voice. "Reynolds, I need a favor. Looking for any active or inactive operatives connected to the designation 22-4, Clearwater Ridge, Montana." A pause. "That's black file territory. I'll call you back." Logan ended the call, staring toward the forest. Emily's words echoed in his mind. "Don't let him take me." Later that afternoon, Logan visited the Carter family. Emily sat quietly at the kitchen table, coloring. Shadow lay beside her, a comforting presence. The girl looked up as Logan entered. "Mr. Logan. He's still out there, isn't he?" Logan knelt beside her. "We're doing everything we can to keep you safe. Do you remember anything else? Anything at all?" Emily nodded slowly. "He smelled like old paint and smoke. And he had a scar across his chin." Logan's heart quickened. A scarred man, paint and smoke. That could mean solvents, chemicals. Possibly someone who'd worked at the abandoned military facility. Shadow lifted his head, ears perked. At that moment, Logan's phone buzzed. Reynolds. "I pulled what I could," Reynolds said. Designation 2214 links to a man named Victor Hale, former military contractor, specialized in covert facility construction and non-standard research logistics. Disappeared 8 years ago after a project called Echo Rise went dark. Logan gripped the phone tighter. "Any known associates?" "Off-grid, but he had ties to an old chemical plant west of Clearwater Ridge. Place shut down years back." Logan glanced at Cole, who had been listening. "We need to check that plant." Night had fallen by the time Logan, Cole, and Shadow reached the derelict structure. The building loomed like a steel skeleton against the moonlit sky. Graffiti marred its walls. Windows were shattered. Shadow tensed, tail rigid. "Smell something?" Logan asked. Shadow growled low. They approached the entrance cautiously. Inside, the air was thick with mildew and chemical residue. Rusted catwalks crisscrossed overhead. Suddenly, a clatter echoed from the far side of the plant. Logan drew his sidearm. Cole mirrored the action. Shadow darted forward, nose to the ground. They followed the dog across the cracked concrete floor, weaving past old machinery. They found a makeshift living area hidden beneath a collapsed office. Space. Blankets, canned food, a small radio, and a series of photographs pinned to the wall. Photos of children. Emily's photo was among them. Cole swore under his breath. "He's been watching them." Shadow barked sharply, then froze near a shadowed corner. Logan followed his gaze, a metal door slightly ajar. Logan approached, heart pounding. He pushed it open to reveal a narrow stairwell leading down. "Stay close," Logan told Cole. The air grew colder as they descended. At the bottom, they entered a room lined with steel cabinets and workbenches. In the center stood Victor Hale. The scar across his chin confirmed his identity. He didn't flinch at the sight of the gun. "You're too late," Hale whispered. "It's already begun." Shadow growled, muscles coiled to spring. Logan kept his weapon steady. "What have you done?" Hale smiled, a slow, bitter curve. "You'll see." Before Logan could react, Hale triggered an explosion from a device strapped to his belt. The blast was sudden but localized. Logan shielded his face as debris rained down. When the smoke cleared, Hale was gone. A hidden passage. Behind the cabinets now stood open. Shadow surged forward, nose to the ground. Logan's voice was grim. "Let's finish this." The hidden passage sloped downward, carved into the bedrock beneath the chemical plant. Logan led the way, flashlight in one hand, his other gripping his sidearm. Shadow moved ahead, every muscle taut. Sheriff Cole followed close behind, his breath shallow in the stale air. The tunnel walls narrowed, then opened into a larger corridor reinforced with steel supports. Old warning signs peeled from the walls. Authorized personnel only. Biohazard containment. This place wasn't just a storage facility, Cole muttered. It was built for something else. Logan nodded grimly. Echo rise. Shadow paused, nose to the ground. He barked once and pressed forward. The corridor ended at a vault-like door, slightly ajar. Logan pushed it open cautiously. The room beyond was vast, lined with rows of computers, containment pods, and medical equipment coated in dust. Monitors flickered dimly, powered by a backup generator. At the center stood a cylindrical tank, its glass fractured. Inside, traces of a chemical compound clung to the walls. "What the hell were they doing here?" Cole whispered. Before Logan could answer, a low moan came from the far side of the room. They approached cautiously. Shadow growled but stayed by Logan's side. A figure lay on the floor, a young man barely out of his teens. His wrists were raw from restraints, his eyes glazed with fear and confusion. Cole knelt beside him. "Who are you?" The young man shivered. "Ethan. Ethan Price. I was taken. Months ago." Logan's gut tightened. "By Hale?" Ethan nodded weakly. He said I was part of the next phase." Cole glanced around. "We need to get him out of here." As they prepared to move, Logan noticed a laptop still active on a nearby table. Files scrolled across the screen. Data logs, chemical trials, subject reports. One entry stood out. Phase. To initiation, Clearwater Ridge, primary targets. Below it, a list of names. Children from the town. Emily's name topped the list. Logan's blood ran cold. Hale hadn't just been experimenting. He'd been planning something much larger. A sound echoed from the corridor behind them. Footsteps. Logan raised his weapon. "Stay alert!" A figure stepped into view. Not Hale, but a man dressed in tactical gear, face concealed by a balaclava. He carried an assault rifle, its barrel gleaming in the dim light. Shadow growled, fur bristling. The man spoke into a radio. "Target located, engaging." Logan fired first. The man staggered back, wounded but not down. Another burst of gunfire erupted. Cole dragged Ethan behind a steel cabinet. Shadow lunged at the attacker, teeth sinking into the man's arm. The rifle clattered to the floor. Logan rushed forward, subduing the assailant with a swift blow. The man gasped, "You can't stop it. It's already begun." Cole secured the man's wrists. "Who are you working for?" But the man only smiled before losing consciousness. Logan searched his uniform, finding a patch beneath the tactical vest. Omega Directive. "We need to get this information to federal authorities," Logan said. "This is bigger than Hale. He has backing." Cole nodded. "Let's get Ethan out and regroup." As they exited the lab, Logan paused at the doorway, glancing back at the tank and the glowing monitors. Shadow stood beside him, eyes steady. "We'll stop this," Logan whispered. "Whatever it takes." The battle for Clearwater Ridge and the children's lives was far from over. The night air outside the chemical plant felt heavier, as if the weight of what they'd discovered pressed against the very sky. Logan, Cole, and Shadow guided Ethan Price to a waiting patrol SUV. EMTs took over, wrapping Ethan in blankets and checking his vitals. His pale face barely registered relief. Cole spoke into his radio. "Dispatch, I need federal backup at the old Ridgeway chemical plant. Secure the perimeter. Potential biological threat." "Copy that," came the reply. Shadow remained alert, eyes scanning the tree line. Logan knew the shepherd sensed more, danger looming. Moments later, headlights pierced the darkness. More deputies arrived, weapons ready. Logan briefed them quickly, his voice steady but urgent. "We're dealing with a group operating under something called Omega Directive. Hale's just the tip of this operation." Cole added, "There's a list of children being targeted. We need to notify every family in Clearwater Ridge and increase patrols immediately." As deputies fanned out, Logan's phone buzzed. It was Reynolds. "I intercepted chatter," Reynolds said without preamble. "Omega Directive is planning a mass abduction tonight." Logan's stomach clenched. "Where?" "Town's annual Founders Festival. Everyone will be gathered at Clearwater Square." Logan's pulse quickened. "They're going to use the crowd as cover." "We need to move fast," Cole said, grimly. By the time they reached Clearwater Square, the festival was already in full swing. Families strolled past food stalls and game booths. Children laughed as they darted between hay bales and carnival rides. None of them sensed the looming threat. Logan scanned the crowd, every sense sharpened. Shadow stayed glued to his side, ears flicking with each new sound. Cole coordinated deputies to quietly position themselves around the square. Then Logan spotted them. Men in tactical clothing, pretending to be festival staff. Too clean-cut, eyes too focused. "Cole, northeast quadrant," Logan whispered into his radio. "4 operatives near the carousel," Cole acknowledged, moving to intercept. Suddenly, the festival lights flickered. A surge of panic rippled through the crowd. Logan heard the hum of an engine. 2 unmarked vans screeched into the square, doors sliding open. Masked men poured out, grabbing children. Screams erupted. Logan drew his weapon. "Shadow, intercept!" The shepherd lunged, slamming into one of the abductors, knocking him flat. Logan fired a warning shot into the air. "Sheriff's Department, drop your weapons!" Chaos exploded. Parents shielded their children. Deputies engaged the attackers. Shadow tackled another operative, teeth sinking into the man's arm. Logan sprinted toward the nearest van, yanking open the driver's door and pulling the man out. Cole radioed, "Back up en route, hold them!" One van peeled away, speeding toward the square's exit. Logan fired at the tires, but it kept going. Shadow broke into a full sprint after the vehicle, paws pounding the pavement. "Shadow, wait!" Logan shouted. The shepherd didn't. "Stop!" The van swerved, trying to lose the dog. Shadow leaped, catching the rear bumper with his jaws. The van dragged him for a moment before the driver lost control. It skidded, crashing into a lamppost. Logan reached the wreck as Shadow limped back, bleeding but unbowed. Inside the van, restrained children sobbed but appeared unharmed. Deputies secured the remaining suspects. Cole cuffed one of the leaders, a man with a scar across his cheek. Logan leaned close. "Where's Hale?" The man sneered. "You're too late. Phase 3 is already set in motion." Before Logan could demand more, a flash grenade detonated nearby. The remaining operatives seized the moment to escape into the night. Logan shielded his eyes from the blinding light. When the smoke cleared, only a few captured attackers remained. But the real mastermind and the next stage of the plot were still out there. Logan rested a hand on Shadow's head. "We're not done yet, boy." The shepherd, despite his injuries, wagged his tail once. The battle for Clearwater Ridge was far from over. The following dawn cast a pale light over Clearwater Ridge. The town square bore the scars of the previous night's battle, overturned booths, shattered glass, and the lingering echoes of fear. Yet amid the wreckage, families held their children tighter. The town had survived. For now. Logan stood beside Shadow, who wore a light bandage on his shoulder. The shepherd's gaze remained vigilant despite his wounds. Cole approached, his expression grim. "Federal agents arrived an hour ago. They've taken the Omega Directive operatives into custody." Logan nodded, eyes scanning the horizon. "And Hale?" Cole shook his head. "No trace." Just then, Reynolds' black SUV pulled up. The intelligence officer stepped out, a tablet in hand. "I've got something," Reynolds said. "The device Hale triggered underground. It didn't just cause that explosion. It activated a signal. We tracked it to an old communications array deep in the forest. That's where he's gone to. Initiate Phase 3. Logan's pulse quickened. Then that's where we go. By midday, a tactical team assembled near the forest edge. Logan, Cole, Reynolds, and Shadow led the group through dense underbrush toward the abandoned communications array. As they neared the site, the team halted. Ahead stood a massive structure of rusted towers and satellite dishes, overgrown but still intact. Wires snaked from the building into the ground like veins. Shadow growled softly. Through binoculars, Logan spotted Hale and a handful of Omega operatives configuring equipment inside the main tower. "He's broadcasting," Reynolds whispered. "If he uploads the data from Echo Rise, it could trigger sleeper agents or release bioagents we can't even identify yet." Cole adjusted his vest. "We take him down, now." Logan gave the signal. The team advanced in formation. As they breached the outer perimeter, gunfire erupted. Omega operatives fired from fortified positions. Logan returned fire, taking cover behind a fallen log. "Cole, flank left." Shadow moved low and fast, weaving between debris. Logan covered. The dogs approached, taking down 2 attackers. Inside the tower, Hale activated the main console. "Too late," he hissed into a headset. "The data uplink has begun." Logan and Shadow burst through the door moments later. Shadow lunged, knocking an armed guard aside. Logan sprinted toward Hale, weapon drawn. "Step away from the console!" Hale smiled coldly. "You don't understand. This isn't just about Clearwater Ridge. It's about control. Evolution." Logan fired, striking Hale's shoulder. The man staggered but slammed his palm onto the console's final command key. A countdown began. 0:59, 0:58. Cole and Reynolds entered behind Logan. Reynolds shouted, "If that uplink completes, the data goes worldwide." Logan moved to the console but saw no simple shutdown. Hale lunged, drawing a concealed blade. Shadow reacted first, intercepting the attack. Teeth clamped onto Hale's arm. Logan disarmed the man with a swift strike. 0030. "Reynolds, override it," Logan barked. The intelligence officer plugged a portable drive into the console, fingers flying over keys. 0.15. Gunfire echoed outside as the last Omega holdouts were subdued. 0010. "Got it!" Reynolds shouted. "I've severed the uplink." The countdown froze at 0003. Silence fell. Hale slumped to his knees, defeated. "You have no idea what you've stopped." Cole cuffed him. "Maybe not, but you won't hurt anyone else." Federal agents secured the site. The danger had passed. Outside, the sun broke through the clouds for the first time in days. Logan knelt beside Shadow, running a hand through the dog's fur. "We did it, boy." Shadow wagged his tail, eyes bright. Later that evening, back in Clearwater Ridge, families gathered at the square not to mourn, but to celebrate resilience and unity. Emily Carter ran up to Logan, hugging him tightly. Shadow sat proudly, letting children pet him. Cole approached. "You staying in town?" Logan smiled faintly. "I think Shadow and I have some unfinished business here." As the sun set over Clearwater Ridge, a gentle breeze carried away the last shadows of fear. The town had faced darkness, and with courage, loyalty, and the bond between a man and his dog, they had endured. But deep in the forest, beneath layers of earth and secrecy, other whispers stirred. The story wasn't over, it was only beginning.